Yo, I gotta talk about these Hellcats real quick, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I feel like every YN wants a Hellcat, and I don't understand why. Listen, I definitely feel like they're nice cars. I would love to have a nice, strong, fast muscle car, but I want to talk about why does every young black man think he needs to have like a muscle Hellcat or something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna break this down into like 5 simple parts, right? So the first thing that I just want to simply go over before we even get into the car itself is, again, the car loan aspect of it. A new Hellcat or a new Dodge anything is like gonna run you $50,000 to $70,000 for the most part, right? And if you try to get like an SRT or an upgraded version, you're looking at upwards of $100,000, right? And we're talking strictly about Hellcats for this video, right? And then on top of that, when you throw in the cost of insurance on these vehicles, most YNs, whatever you want to call these motherfuckers who are buying these vehicles, they're paying an absurd amount monthly for the car, all in the name of driving something that's fast or like to flex. And that's the problem, because you're trying to flex a car that you don't even really own. The bank owns the car when you have a car loan. So you're trying to flex something that you don't even really own. It doesn't even make sense. And then when you couple that, like the entire car loan aspect of it, right? So it's already bad enough that we're getting car loans to do so. But the reason we're so willing to do it in the first place is because we're heavily marketed to as like the main consumer for these vehicles, I feel like. Like if you ever look at how Dodge markets their vehicles, you get the ads and the music and whatnot, like they cater to our audience. And that's why we tend to like these vehicles in the first place, I feel like. Like you never see a Dodge Charger in a motherfucking country song or a country, I don't know, you don't see country people driving around in Dodge Chargers. It's more of an urban glorified thing. You can look at every like rap video or like the culture in general, like Hellcats, Chargers are just heavily glorified. Isn't there like a whole Sexy Red song where she talk about like Hellcats, SRTs, signs like that's what I mean, bro. Hellcats and SRTs for some reason are just the god cars in our community, and I'm just thinking like, why? And when I think about the why, you know, it sort of makes sense to me when you really think about it, because just like any other thing in our community that you can say is like a problem, a Hellcat, all it represents is status. It makes sense why a young man would like to have a nice ass car. Like, of course, I mean, I think I have a pretty nice car myself, and I take pride in the car that I have, of course. So I'm not saying that having a nice car is something that you don't want to do or it's like a bad thing inherently. But when you are going into massive amounts of debt, which is what I always talk about, to have a car just for the sake of having a car, and then when on top of that, the car is a Dodge Durango or a Dodge Charger, which is like a stereotypical car to have as a young black man, bro, it's not smart to do, I feel like. And then meanwhile, the dude on the block who pull up in a Camry or a goddamn Honda Civic, he's paying like half of what you pay in insurance and monthly car payments, and he's able to save way more money over the course of his life. And then you wonder why when you're like 35 or 40 years old, why you have nothing to show for it, because you were too busy trying to flex, driving around in the goddamn Dodge Durango or a Charger your whole entire youth, your whole early 20s. And then to pretty much finalize this, because I'm going to keep this real short and subcompact for y'all. When you subscribe to this idea that you need to have a nice car, and we can sort of put the Hellcat or the Dodges to the side and just bring this all together with car loans in general. When you decide that you need to have a nice car to pretty much identify with or identify, like, I don't even know. Just if you think that a nice car makes you a man or something like that, and you need to have the fastest car and whatnot. And again, I like nice cars. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with wanting to have a nice car. But if you make that your entire identity and you're willing to go into massive amounts of debt to do so, especially for a car that is not even really that reliable, I feel like Chargers are getting worse in reliability. You might get a good 100,000 miles out of that shit before you gotta get a new car. Like, give me the Honda Civic that goes 200,000 miles or something like that. But anyway, if you look at the entire predatory system of car loans in general, it's not smart for you to try to continue to go down this path of trying to flex. Wait until you can afford to have a goddamn Dodge Charger. If you're a young black man watching this, please, if you want to get a Charger, I mean, I'm not saying every young black man wants a Charger, but if you do want a Charger, save your money up. Be efficient with your savings, and you can get one at some point. We can get everything we want if you just are efficient with your savings and you manage to stick to a solid budget, bro. So, or you can just do the alternative and continue to take out car loans. And if you're watching this with a Dodge Charger, I hope you make enough money to afford it and you're still investing, because most black people, most black men in particular, are very reckless with their spending, and this is why we are behind. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, yo, what is this dude talking about? He just talking out his ass. All right, that's fine. But me personally, I'm going to try my hardest to not be somebody who is just obsessed with cars. And even though I like Hellcats and SRTs and Dodges, whatever you want to call them, cars in general, I'm going to try to avoid going into massive amounts of debt to finance a car that I don't really need. All right, so I'm going to keep it right there for y'all. That's all I got to say. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, do you want to be rich or do you want to look like you're rich? And if you want to just like you're rich, that's fine. Get the car loan, go into massive amounts of credit card debt, buy the things you don't need. But if you want to actually be rich, don't do those things. We out.